Hello, my name is Mark Ellis and from Stick and Ritter Studios, and today I want to take you through the installation and use of FS-ATC-Chatter version 1.2.3. When you get FS-ATC-Chatter, whether it be the demo or the paid-for version, what you're going to see is two executable files that you would download. These are traditional Microsoft Windows installers, and they'll actually install the product for you. You'll notice here that the demo version called FS-ATC-Chatter Setup 1.2.3 Demo.exe, it's relatively small. It's only about 50 or so megabytes. This is because it only contains 400 or so demo clips in the United States. And you're free to use this. It's a free version, and you're also free to collect your own clips and put them into the folders if you so choose to do that. The purchase version has over 45,000 clips in it, and that's the one here that's called FS-ATC-Chatter Setup 1.2.3 Full.exe. And then you can see with that one, it's quite large. It's almost 3 gigabytes in size, and that's because it has over 45,000 MP3 files, which are ATC clips from all over the world. So, depending upon which one you're installing, all you have to do is double-click on the executable. Now, I do want to show you that until Windows Explorer sees that this is a more popular download, you may get a Windows Defender warning, and I'll show you that here if I double-click on the demo one. I'll actually get this Windows Protected Your PC dialog. You may or may not get this depending upon how long this executable is up there, because Windows Defender may eventually learn about it and figure out that it's not malicious. But if you do get this, just hit the more info and hit run anyways. So we're going to install the full version. Now I do want to tell you, when you double click this full version exe, it may take it up to a minute or so to actually show you the end user license agreement dialog. And the reason for that is that your antivirus software may want to scan this executable to make sure there's no viruses in it. And since it's so large, it can take it a little bit of time to do that before it'll even allow it to run. So let's go ahead and give that a try. Now, in my case, it came up right away because I had run this once before, but be forewarned, in your case, it may take maybe even up to a minute or so for it to get scanned and before you'll even see this dialog. So once you see this, this is the standard end user license agreement for Stick and Ritter Studios, just to agree to that. And then you're going to get to choose whether or not you want a startup menu shortcut or a desktop shortcut. I recommend leaving both of these checked and then hit next. And now you have to pick where you want to put it. In here, there's a couple things. First off, if you have a previous version of FS-ATC-Chatter already installed, please point this to wherever that installation is. In that case, what it will do is it will upgrade all of your binary files in the documentation to 1.2.3. This even includes that if you're using the demo exe installer just to update the player, again, don't delete your existing FS-ATC-Chatter folder because that's the one that's got all the big, the large clip set in it. Just point this to where your current installation is. Once you've run this installer, it will remember where it is the next time and always fill this in for you. Make sure you put it in a place where you've got plenty of room. In my case, because it is going to be pretty big, it's going to take over 3 gigabytes once it's unpacked and installed. Also, do not install this in your program files folders, primarily because you need certain permissions to be able to write to those folders, and unless you're running as an administrator, you may have problems, running the executable from there. So install it on the root of your C drive, your D drive, or if you happen to have a big drive that you keep a lot of your flight simulator stuff on, put it there. Also, don't put it anywhere within the Microsoft Flight Simulator tree. It's not a Microsoft Flight Simulator plugin or scenery or aircraft. It's really its own standalone application. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and put this right in the root of the C drive. I've got plenty of room here, and let's go ahead and install this. Now, this is big. It's going to take it a little while to get installed, so let's go ahead and let that finish. Okay, now that that's done, I'm going to go ahead and uncheck this because I want to show you what's in the folder first. But you could, if you had that checked, you could just hit finish, and it would go ahead and run the application for you. So we'll hit finish. I do want to show you that it did create a FS-ATC-Chatter icon here for you, and it would also be in the start menu. But let's take a look at where it put this and what is in those folders. So if we come down here, we should be able to go to the FS-ATC-Chatter folder on the C drive. And what I do want to point out to you is here's all of your executables and the supporting dynamic link libraries. User guide is down here if you need to take a look at that. But the one directory I want to point out to you is this regions folder here. This is the guide that's got all of the clips in it, right? So you'll have all of your regions, and then if you go down into each region, you've got your controllers, and then here you've got all of the clips associated with that. The reason why I want to point this out is that if you're going to install this into Pilot ATC, this is the folder you're going to need to copy over to the proper place in Pilot ATC, and there's a whole separate tutorial video showing you how to do that. But I wanted to make sure that you knew, where that was. Okay, so now that this is working, all we have to do is double click on this, and it should fire up FS-ATC-Chatter. And it should come up, and you'll see the controller here. Now, in my case, one of the new features of FS-ATC-Chatter 1.2 is it does have the ability to look and see if there are new clips that have been added to the purchase clip library. And if there are some new ones, it'll give you this little dialog that asks if you want to update it. So I'm going to say no for right now. Okay, we'll look at that actually in a minute. Okay. And I actually have Microsoft Flight Simulator running over here. I got it the volume turned down on it so you don't have to hear the engines running, but you could see that it went right ahead and it connected okay to the simulator. Okay. Now, how does this all work? First off, what you're going to find over here on the left is all of these region checkboxes, and next to each region shows you the total number of clips, okay, that are in each region. If you want to play clips from the United States, you check the box. If you want to play clips from the United States and Canada, you could check 2 boxes. And as you could see, when I did that, over here, you have the clip counts for those selected regions for each of the different types of controllers. Unicom, clearance delivery, departure ground, departure tower. These are all of the MP3 files, okay, that would be in here. Now, you do have to check something. I think the United States will default, but if you don't check anything, you'll see now there's no clips at all to play. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on the United States, okay? There's also a little checkbox up here called Play Chatter that you're going to want to have turned on in order to hear the chatter. And there's a little volume slider here that would control how loud the clips are going to be played. I'm going to have it turned up full bore here so we can hear it. Now, one other thing, you'll notice here that there's a little message here called out of range. FS-ATC-Chatter has a couple of ways it can operate. By default, what it will do is look at what frequency you have tuned in your radios. And then it has actually a complete frequency database where it knows where your plane is, and it knows what ATC facilities are in the area around your plane, to a range of maybe 40, 50 nautical miles, okay? And if your radio is tuned to a frequency of a facility that is within that radius, it will start playing the type of chatter that is associated with that facility, whether that's a ground frequency or maybe a tower frequency for an airport, okay? In this case, it's saying out of range because I'm tuned to a frequency, okay, that it doesn't currently think is in the area, like 121.5. I'm actually at the Lebanon Municipal Airport in New Hampshire, and this is not one of the frequencies at the airport, and there frankly is no other frequency at 121.5, okay, that's anywheres near near that, okay. So if I want to tune this, okay, now to a frequency that's at the airport, I could either go right into the cockpit and do it, but there's also this little nearest facility pop up here that will show me all of the frequencies, okay, within like a 40 nautical mile range, okay? And you can see right now, none of the check boxes are checked. So let's say I'm going to come in here and I either can manually go into the cockpit and tune the radio to 125.95, which is the Lebanon tower frequency, but I can also do it right here by clicking on this. And if I do this, I should start to hear some chatter.
989, turn left heading 290 and maintain 5,000.
Left 290, 5,000, triple 989.
989, that's for traffic. You can expect vectors to rejoin the pass 5, contact departure. Good night.
Triple 989, see you.
And I'm just going to uncheck that now so I can talk a little bit. You'll notice that it did connect to the departure tower controller automatically because it knows that 125.95 is associated with tower. If I actually came over here now and let's say I go to Lebanon ground, you'll notice check the ground controller. And if I start playing chatter, we'll hear ground chatter.
Ground there for 3845 north, ready to text information's here.
Number 3840, ground, good morning, Sierra, car number 8 right, back via Echo.
8 right via Echo, and there for 3840.
Okay, so you see how that works. Now, if you don't want to have it doing it automatically, you can bring up the settings dialog here, and there is a way to control how that works. So you'll notice here that under the radios tab, I have automatically determined controller type based upon your comm frequency. If I shut that off, what that's going to allow me to do now is I can manually select, I have to close this, I can manually select what kind of chatter I want to hear.
Southwest 312, connect approach on 124.35, connect.
Southwest 312, good day. Alpha 2435.
Traffic, Trinidad 341 Tango Bravo, turning left base for runway 7.
Yes, good morning, Dasha 571 at Alpha 5 with Austin, ready to...
Okay, so you see how that works. Most people will operate this, okay, with the automatically determines controller type, okay? You also have the ability to only play chatter when your COM 1 and COM 2 radios are powered up. And if I were to go in and turn off, with this turned on, this enabled, if I were to go in and shut off the avionics power in the cockpit, what'll end up happening is this COM 1 and COM 2 radio buttons up here will turn red, and we'll get a little message saying that there's no power to the radios. Now, one thing I want to caution you, particularly with FS 2020, a number of the planes are not maintaining the proper SimConnect variable for the radio power. So if this does not work, okay, with a particular plane, you may need to disable this, in which case it'll always play chatter even when you don't have the radios turned on. And that's just unique. And what I would recommend is if you do run into an aircraft that's not properly maintaining the radio status in SimConnect, send a note to the designers, the aircraft authors, so that they can fix that, because they really should get that corrected. Okay. This checkbox here, use whichever radio is enabled for transmit. If you switch between COM 1 and COM 2 in the 3D cockpit as to which radio you're transmitting on, these radio buttons up here will follow it. Without that checked, you have to manually pick which COM radio we're going to be looking at the frequency on. Okay. Under output devices, you have a choice of where you want the sound to go. The primary sound driver is going to basically be whatever you have set up in Windows as your default output device. Some people like to have, their aircraft engines and sounds coming through a set of speakers, but maybe you want to hear your ATC and your chatter come through a set of headphones. So this will allow you to change where that's going to come from. Okay. You can set up some joystick assignments. As an example, if you want to manually toggle playback on and off, you can assign a key to that. A momentary mute would be something where as you press the button, it'll basically stop the chatter for a little bit. That's particularly useful if you're trying to have like a push to talk button that you're using to talk, on a network, traffic program or whatever, and you want to stop the chatter. Okay. You can also assign joystick buttons to manually pick the controllers, like previous controller, next controller. And toggle visibility is whether or not this, the control panel is maximized or minimized. Okay. And finally, under miscellaneous, you've got what the minimum and maximum delay times are between clips. And these are randomized. Okay. So if I set it to 5, it'll randomly pick the minimum delay between clips, and it's going to be, at least greater than 5 seconds, okay? And the maximum delay is how long do we wait. It'll never go over 30 seconds, and I can adjust these, okay? You have a checkbox here called Keep FS-ATC-Chatter windows on top of all other windows. That's in the case if you want to have this control panel all the way up, and you've got a single monitor and you're running the flight simulator, you can have this be over the top of the flight simulator, okay? You can have it so that minimize the main window when FS-ATC-Chatter starts. So when you start it up, it'll minimize it right down to the tray so that you don't have to see it. Close FS-ATC-Chatter when the simulator shuts down. So if I shut down FS 2020, FS-ATC-Chatter will stop at the same time. This checkbox will show you if there's a new version of the player available. In this checkbox will show you if there's any new audio clips available that have been submitted by volunteers that we've curated and put up into the collection set. Okay, and as long as we're up here now, for those of you who are upgrading from 1.0 to 1.2, there are very likely, some new clips that have been added since the time you downloaded 1.0 with all of the updates. So we could do a real quick check now. And you can see that it's gone up, and it sees that our installed files are 29,519, but up on the server, there's 29,914. So there's 405 new United States clips. There are also 10 obsolete files. These would be files where there might have been an error in them, and somebody reported it, and what we did is we deleted that file from the clip collection, or maybe corrected it and gave it a new name. So in this case, I can come in here and I can check these, and what it will do is it'll download the 405 new files, and it will delete these 10 obsolete files. And you can see it goes at a pretty good rate. And the update's complete. So I think this gives you a pretty good idea of how to install FS-ATC-Chatter and how to operate it. It's fairly intuitive and easy to do, and I hope you enjoy it. One thing I would like to point out is this player, particularly if you've got automatic controllers turned on where it's trying to figure out what to play based upon what frequency you're tuned to, it does work off of a frequency database. And the frequency database that it ships with is pretty closely matched to FS 2020. If you're using this on FSX or the various versions of P3D, it very well could be that in those simulators, the frequency database does not line up perfectly, with the one we ship this with. And the way you'll see this is that if you're using the ATC within the simulator, it'll ask you to tune to frequencies. And what will end up happening is when you do that, you'll end up with an out of range here. And that typically indicates that the simulator's ATC, what it thinks the frequencies are for where you're at, and what FS-ATC-Chatter's frequency database thinks is available at that latitude and longitude don't match up. There is a free tool called a nav data reader tool that's actually used as part of a little nav map. We use the same kind of format of the database. And you can use that to read all of your scenery files and create an updated COM database if you feel that's necessary. Like I said, it should generally work pretty good if you're using FS 2020. And where you'll notice it is if you're using ATC within the simulator and it's telling you to tune to things and you're getting it out of range, that's a good indication you might need to use that nav data reader tool. And there is a tutorial video up on the Stick and Rudder Studios website that'll walk you through how to do that. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and we also hope that you enjoy FS-ATC-Chatter. Thank you very much.